सीधी फ्लाइट संभव हो पाएगी। इस एयरपोर्ट से यात्रा में तो आसानी होगी ही, इस पूरे क्षेत्र के उद्योगों को भी बहुत लाभ होगा। और जब मैं मुख्यमंत्री था, शुरुआती दिन थे, ज्यादा अनुभव तो नहीं था, और एक बार मैंने कहा था ये तो मेरा मिनी जापान बन रहा है। तब बहुत लोगों ने मजाक उड़ाई थी मेरी, लेकिन आज वो शब्द आपने सच कर करके दिखा दिए हैं। साथियों, यहां के किसानों के लिए भी अब फल सब्जियों को देश विदेश की मंडियों तक भेजना आसान हो जाएगा। यानी राजकोट को सिर्फ एक एयरपोर्ट नहीं, बल्कि इस पूरे क्षेत्र के विकास को नई ऊर्जा देने वाला, नई उड़ान देने वाला एक पावर हाउस मिला है। साथियों, आज यहां सौनी योजना के तहत अनेक प्रोजेक्ट्स का लोकार्पण भी हुआ। इन प्रोजेक्ट्स के पूरा होने से सौराष्ट्र के दर्जनों गांवों के किसानों को सिंचाई और पीने का पानी उपलब्ध हो पाएगा। इसके अलावा भी राजकोट के विकास से जुड़े अनेक प्रोजेक्ट्स का लोकार्पण आज यहां करने का अवसर मिला है। मैं इन सभी परियोजनाओं के लिए आप सभी को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, बीते 9 वर्षों में केंद्र सरकार ने समाज के हर वर्ग, हर क्षेत्र के जीवन को आसान बनाने के लिए काम किया है। हम गुड गवर्नेंस की, सुशासन की गारंटी देकर आए हैं। आज हम उस गारंटी को पूरा करके दिखा रहे हैं। हमने गरीब हो, दलित हो, पिछड़े हो, आदिवासी हो, सबके जीवन को बेहतर बनाने के लिए निरंतर काम किया है। हमारी सरकार के प्रयासों से आज देश में गरीबी तेजी से कम हो रही है। अभी हाल में जो रिपोर्ट आई है वो कहती है कि हमारी सरकार के 5 साल में 13.5 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर निकले हैं। यानी आज भारत में गरीबी से बाहर निकलकर एक न्यू मिडिल क्लास, नए मध्यम वर्ग का सृजन हो रहा है। इसलिए हमारी सरकार की प्राथमिकताओं में मिडिल क्लास भी है, न्यू मिडिल क्लास भी है, एक प्रकार से पूरा मध्यम वर्ग है। साथियों, आप याद कीजिए 2014 से पहले मध्यम वर्ग की एक बहुत आम शिकायत क्या होती थी? लोग कहते थे कनेक्टिविटी कितनी खराब है, हमारा कितना समय आने जाने में बर्बाद हो जाता है। लोग कहीं बाहर देश से आते थे, बाहर की फिल्मों को देखते थे, टीवी पे दुनिया की अपनी नजर आ जाती थी, तो उनके मन में सवाल उठते थे, सोचते थे कि हमारे देश में कब ऐसा होगा, कब ऐसे सड़कें बनेगी, कब ऐसे एयरपोर्ट बनेंगे। स्कूल, दफ्तर आने जाने में परेशानी, व्यापार कारोबार करने में परेशानी, कनेक्टिविटी का देश में यही हाल था। हमने बीते 9 वर्षों में इस परेशानी को दूर करने का हर संभव प्रयास किया। 2014 में सिर्फ 4 शहरों में मेट्रो नेटवर्क था। आज देश के 20 से ज्यादा शहरों में मेट्रो नेटवर्क पहुंच चुका है। आज देश के 25 अलग अलग रूट्स पर वंदे भारत जैसी आधुनिक ट्रेनें चल रही है। 2014 में देश में 70 के आसपास एयरपोर्ट हुआ करते थे, अब इनकी संख्या भी बढ़कर के डबल से भी ज्यादा पहुंच चुकी है। हवाई सेवा के विस्तार ने भारत के एयरलाइन सेक्टर को दुनिया में नई ऊंचाई दी है। आज भारत की कंपनियां लाखों करोड़ रुपए के नए विमान खरीद रही है। कहीं पर एक साइकिल नहीं आ जाए, एक गाड़ी नहीं आ जाए, स्कूटर नया आ जाए तो चर्चा होती है। आज हिंदुस्तान में 1000 नए विमानों का ऑर्डर बुक है और संभावना है आने वाले दिनों में 2000 विमान के ऑर्डर की। और आपको याद है, मुझे तो याद है, गुजरात चुनाव के समय मैंने आपको कहा था वो दिन दूर नहीं जब गुजरात एरोप्लेन भी बनाएगा। आज गुजरात इस दिशा में तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है। भाइयों और बहनों, ईज ऑफ लिविंग, क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ हमारी सरकार की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकताओं में से एक है। पहले देश के लोगों का किस किस तरह की परेशानी से गुजरना होता था, ये भी हम भूल नहीं सकते। बिजली पानी का बिल भरना हो तो लाइन, अस्पताल में इलाज करना है तो लंबी लाइन, बीमा और पेंशन लेना है तो भी भरपूर समस्याएं, टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल करना है तो भी मुसीबतों से गुजरना। हमने डिजिटल इंडिया से इन सभी समस्याओं का समाधान दिया। बैंक जाकर काम कराने में पहले कितना समय और ऊर्जा लग जाती थी, आज आपका बैंक आपके मोबाइल फोन पर है। ये भी कईयों को याद नहीं होगा कि पिछली बार बैंक कब गए थे, जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ रही है। साथियों, आप वो दिन भी याद करिए जब टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल करना भी बड़ी चुनौती हुआ करता था। इसके लिए किसी को ढूंढो, यहां जाओ वहां दौड़ो, यही सब कुछ हुआ करता था। आज कुछ ही समय में आप आसानी से ऑनलाइन रिटर्न फाइल कर सकते हैं। अगर रिफंड होता है तो उसका पैसा भी कुछ ही दिनों में आपके खाते में आ जाता है, वरना पहले कई कई महीने लग जाते थे। साथियों, मिडिल क्लास के लोगों के पास अपना घर हो, इसे लेकर भी पहली सरकारों को कोई चिंता नहीं थी। हमने गरीबों के घर की भी चिंता की और मिडिल क्लास के घर का सपना पूरा करने का भी इंतजाम किया। पीएम आवास योजना के तहत हमने मध्यम वर्ग के परिवारों को घर बनाने के लिए विशेष सब्सिडी दी। इसके तहत 18 लाख रुपए तक की सालाना आय वाले परिवारों को मदद दी गई। अभी तक देश के मध्यम वर्ग के 6 लाख से ज्यादा परिवार इसका लाभ उठा चुके हैं। यहां गुजरात के भी 60,000 से ज्यादा परिवारों ने केंद्र सरकार की इस योजना का लाभ उठाया है। साथियों, केंद्र में जब पुरानी सरकार थी तो अक्सर सुनते थे कि घर के नाम पर यह ठगी हो गई, वो धोखा हो गया। कई कई सालों तक घर का पोजीशन नहीं मिलता था, कोई कायदा कानून नहीं था, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं था। ये हमारी सरकार है जिसने रेरा कानून बनाया, लोगों के हितों को सुरक्षित किया। रेरा कानून की वजह से आज लाखों लोगों के पैसे लूटने से बच रहे हैं। भाई और बहनों, आज जब देश में इतना काम हो रहा है, देश आगे बढ़ रहा है, तो कुछ लोगों को परेशानी होनी बहुत स्वाभाविक है। जो लोग देश की जनता को हमेशा तरसा कर रखते थे, जिन लोगों को देश की जनता की आवश्यकताओं और आकांक्षाओं से कोई मतलब नहीं था, वो लोग देश की जनता के सपने पूरे होते देखकर आज जरा ज्यादा चिढ़े हुए हैं। और इसलिए आप देख रहे हैं आजकल इन भ्रष्टाचारियों और परिवारवादियों ने अपनी जमात का नाम भी बदल दिया है। चेहरे वही पुराने हैं, पाप भी पुराने हैं, तौर तरीके भी पुराने हैं, लेकिन जमात का नाम बदल गया है। इनके तौर तरीके भी वही है, पुराने हैं, इनके इरादे भी वही है। जब मिडिल क्लास को कुछ सस्ता मिलता है तो ये कहते हैं कि किसान को सही कीमत नहीं मिल रही। जब किसान को ज्यादा कीमत मिलती है तो ये कहते हैं कि महंगाई बढ़ रही है। यही दोहरापन इनकी राजनीति है। और आप देखिए महंगाई के मामले इनका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड क्या है। जब वो केंद्र में सत्ता में थे तो इन्होंने महंगाई दर को 10% तक पहुंचा दिया था। अगर हमारी सरकार ने महंगाई काबू में नहीं की होती तो आज भारत में कीमतें आसमान छू रही होती। अगर देश में पहले वाली सरकार होती तो आज दूध 300 रुपये लीटर, दाल 500 रुपये किलो बिक रही होती। बच्चों की स्कूल फीस से लेकर आने जाने का किराया तक सब कुछ कई गुना हो चुका होता। लेकिन साथियों, ये हमारी सरकार है जिसने कोरोना महामारी के बावजूद, रूस यूक्रेन युद्ध के बावजूद महंगाई को काबू में करके रखा है। आज हमारे आस पड़ोस के देशों में 25-30% की दर से महंगाई बढ़ रही है, लेकिन भारत में ऐसा नहीं है। हम पूरी संवेदनशीलता के साथ महंगाई कंट्रोल करने के प्रयास करते आए हैं और आगे भी करते रहेंगे। भाई और बहनों, गरीब का खर्च बचाने, मध्यम वर्ग का खर्च बचाने के साथ ही हमारी सरकार ने यह भी कोशिश की है कि मिडिल क्लास की जेब में ज्यादा से ज्यादा बचत हो। आपको याद होगा 9 वर्ष पहले तक 2 लाख रुपए सालाना कमाई पर टैक्स लग जाता था। 2 लाख की कमाई पर आज 7 लाख रुपए तक की कमाई होने पर भी टैक्स कितना है? 0, 0। 7 लाख की कमाई पर कोई टैक्स नहीं लगता। इससे शहरों में रहने वाले मध्यम वर्ग परिवारों के हर साल हजारों रुपये बच रहे हैं। हमने छोटी बचत पर, नानी बचत, अधिक ब्याज देने का भी कदम उठाया है। इस साल ईपीएफओ पर 8.25% इंटरेस्ट तय किया गया है। साथियों, हमारी सरकार की नीतियों, निर्णयों में से कैसे आपके पैसे बच रहे हैं, इसका एक उदाहरण है, आपका मोबाइल फोन भी है। शायद आपका उस तरफ ध्यान नहीं गया होगा। आज अमीर हो या गरीब, अधिकांश लोगों के पास फोन जरूर होता है। आज हर भारतीय औसतन हर महीने करीब करीब 20 जीबी डेटा इस्तेमाल करता है। आप जानते हैं 2014 में 1 जीबी डेटा की कीमत कितनी थी? 2014 में 1 जीबी डेटा के लिए आपको 300 रुपये देने पड़ते थे। अगर वही पुरानी सरकार आज होती तो आपको मोबाइल का ही बिल हर महीने कम से कम 6,000 रुपये देना पड़ता। जबकि आज 20 जीबी डेटा के लिए 300-400 रुपये का ही बिल आता है। यानी आज लोगों के हर महीने मोबाइल बिल में करीब करीब 5,000 रुपये हर महीना बच रहे हैं। साथियों, जिन परिवारों में सीनियर सिटीजन हो, वृद्ध माता पिता हो, दादा दादी हो और कोई न कोई बीमारी हो तो परिवार में रेगुलर दवाएं लेनी पड़ती है। उन्हें भी हमारी सरकार योजनाओं से बहुत बचत करवा रही है। पहले इन लोगों को मार्केट में अधिक कीमत पर दवा खरीदनी पड़ती थी। उन्हें चिंता से उबारने के लिए हमने जन औषधि केंद्र पर सस्ती दवाई देने का शुरू किया। इन स्टोर की वजह से गरीब और मध्यम वर्ग के करीब 20,000 करोड़ रुपए की बचत हुई है। गरीब के लिए संवेदनशील सरकार, मध्यम वर्ग के लिए संवेदनशील सरकार एक के बाद वो कदम उठाती है ताकि सामान्य नागरिक के जेब पर बोझ न बढ़े। भाई और बहनों, यहां गुजरात के विकास के लिए, सौराष्ट्र के विकास के लिए भी हमारी सरकार पूरी संवेदनशीलता से काम कर रही है। गुजरात से बेहतर, सौराष्ट्र से बेहतर ये कौन जानता है कि पानी की कमी का मतलब क्या होता है। सौनी योजना से पहले क्या स्थिति थी और सौनी योजना के बाद क्या बदलाव आया है, यह हमें सौराष्ट्र में दिखता है। सौराष्ट्र में दर्जनों बांध, हजारों चेक डैम्स आज पानी के स्रोत बन चुके हैं। हर घर जल योजना के तहत गुजरात के करोड़ों परिवारों, उनको आज नल से जल मिलने लगा है। साथियों, यही सुशासन का मॉडल है जो देश में बीते 9 वर्षों में एक के बाद एक कदम उठा करके, जन सामान्य की सेवा करके, उसकी आवश्यकताओं को पूरी करके हमने इस मॉडल को सिद्ध किया है। ऐसा सुशासन जिसमें समाज के हर वर्ग, हर परिवार की जरूरतों, उसकी आकांक्षाओं को ध्यान में रखा जा रहा है। यही विकसित भारत के निर्माण का हमारा रास्ता है। इसी रास्ते पर चलते हुए हमें अमृत काल के संकल्पों को सिद्ध करना है। राजकोट से इतनी बड़ी संख्या में आपका आना, आप सभी को नया एयरपोर्ट मिलना, वो भी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय एयरपोर्ट मिलना, और दूसरे भी अनेक प्रोजेक्ट्स का नजराना मेरे सौराष्ट्र के लोगों को, मेरे गुजरात के राजकोट के लोगों को मिले। मैं इन सभी के लिए आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। और भूपेंद्र भाई की सरकार आपकी आशा आकांक्षाओं को पूरा करने में कोई कमी नहीं कर रहने देगी, ये मेरा पूरा विश्वास है। फिर एक बार ये स्वागत सम्मान के लिए, इस प्यार के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
આવો માનનીય પ્રધાનમંત્રીશ્રીનો અનેક ભેટ આપવા બદલ, મહત્વપૂર્ણ ઉપસ્થિતિ બદલ અને સમગ્ર રાજકોટ અને સમગ્ર સૌરાષ્ટ્ર વતી આપણે હૃદયસ્થ આવજો કહીએ અને ફરી પધારવા નિમંત્રણ આપીએ। ભારત માતા કી, ભારત માતા કી, ભારત માતા કી।
So you just heard the Prime Minister, who's on a two-day visit to Gujarat, and he's also just inaugurated a number of key projects, including an international airport near the Rajkot city. He also took this opportunity again to take the opposition to the cleaners, and he says, they talk of appeasement, we talk of development. You would recall earlier he was also in Sikar in Rajasthan, and now the Prime Minister is in Rajkot in Gujarat. We head into a break. Right now on the other side, we get you our ground coverage from the situation in Manipur that still continues to remain tense. And also DK Shivkumar says that there is going to be no development possible because we have to think about providing for freebies we promised. So is this a big admission that their Karnataka model possibly has failed?
The issue in Manipur is very complex. The horror of the video in which the women are paraded naked and the gang rape on these women has shaken the entire nation. I call for unity in our national response. There are 36 terrorist groups in Manipur, all of them fully armed. The same people who are calling for greater army presence and central intervention now are the same people who want the powers of the army always curtailed. And now they say, send in the army. There is a Chinese angle. Hundreds, thousands of Chinese arms are entering Manipur. The Congress, which ensured decades of endless bloodshed in the northeast, has no right to lecture us today. If the opposition had been in power in Manipur, if Manipur would have been an opposition ruled state, the centre would have probably thought of imposing 365 by now. The centre and the state government have made a series of mistakes. They need to stop now. The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the...
Welcome back. Now, stoking a fresh controversy, the Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar says that the Congress government in the state cannot provide funds for development this year. Now, you're wondering why? He says this is because of financial constraints. He further adds that the financial crunch has been caused by the implementation of the 5 poll guarantees, and many are questioning if this is really going to be the truth of the Karnataka model now.
ಬೇರೆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಟೈಮು ಭಾಳ ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಕೆಲವು ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಾವು ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ನ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಪಾಪ ಭಾಳ ಆಸೆರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಮಾತು ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಈ ಮಾತು ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಇಲಾಖೆಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬ ಶಾಸಕರು 10 ಕೋಟಿ 100 ಕೋಟಿ 200 ಕೋಟಿ 300 ಕೋಟಿ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ 300 ಕೋಟಿ ಕೆಲಸ ನಾವು ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀವು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಾಳ್ಮೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹೊಸ್ದಾಗಿ ಗೆದ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಜನರ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ನೀವು ಟೂರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಮಳೆಗಾಲ ಇದೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ಮಳೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ಆ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಮೊನ್ನೆ
He has told the correct position, financial position of the state. That's what we are telling, that there is no funds for the development of the state, and state will suffer at least 2 years without any development. And 2 years of non-development of any state will take the state 10 years back. See, there is a internal squabble going on, right from making the chief minister, then making a cabinet. And all the senior MLAs are really upset about it. Even new MLAs are upset about it. And it is very well to see that in the corridors of Vidhan Sabha, the transfer business and cash for posting is going on rampantly, openly. Every nook and corner of Vidhan Sabha speaks about it. And this we are raised up in the assembly. I said, it is not only in Vidhan Sabha, it is in legislature's home, it is in Kumara Krupa and other guest houses around this thing. There are huge people. Why now huge people are coming and flocking towards all these agents? So agency has been opened for transfer, and that is the complaint of the MLAs also. So let us see how this government favors agents or their own MLAs.
Then what they have? If there is no funds, how can they run the show of the government? So this is the problem of the Congress party government always. And there is no developmental work at all in Karnataka now. Only they are concentrating about this guarantees only. And total ministers now all are in transfer, all in transfers, and huge money has been collected, and the MLAs themselves have written a letter to Chief Minister, accusing the ministers, district ministers, collecting the money from the third party. So this is the problem within the Congress government now.
After a quick break, the Allahabad High Court has reserved the order on Gyanvapi. The order on the SI survey expected now on August the 3rd. Also, fresh fighting and arson has been reported. The situation continues to remain tense in parts of Manipur.
The issue in Manipur is very complex. The horror of the video in which the women are paraded naked and the gang rape on these women has shaken the entire nation. I call for unity in our national response. There are 36 terrorist groups in Manipur, all of them fully armed. The same people who are calling for greater army presence and central intervention now are the same people who want the powers of the army always curtailed. And now they say, send in the army. There is a Chinese angle. Hundreds, thousands of Chinese arms are entering Manipur. The Congress, which ensured decades of endless bloodshed in the northeast, has no right to lecture us today. If the opposition had been in power in Manipur, if Manipur would have been an opposition ruled state, the centre would have probably thought of imposing 365 by now. The centre and the state government have made a series of mistakes. They need to stop now. The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The chief minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation.
Welcome back. You're watching Republic. Let's also put our focus now on what's been happening in Mumbai. The city, remember, has seen rain for the last few days. The IMD says that there is going to be heavy rain for the next 48 hours at least. Now, what this means is that citizens continue to be inconvenienced. There is waterlogging, there is long jams and snarls, something again that a lot of Mumbaikars already have gotten used to. Sandeep getting you more details.
Rains have been witnessed across the city of Mumbai, and in fact the red alert has been overturned to orange. I am standing right now in Marine Lines area. As you see in the visuals, heavy water logging has been witnessed out here. I report out here from the South Mumbai area. This is one of the very important area out here of South Mumbai, and in fact it is very rare to see water logging in South Mumbai, but due to incessant rain across the city of Mumbai, keeping this in mind, the commuters have been in fact facing problems due to this, and in fact water logging and traffic is something that is the issue that is being faced by the commuters of Mumbai. With video journalist Neeraj Sandeep Singh for Republic TV.
And if rains cause a lot of inconvenience to people, the other thing that worry people is also the interest rates. Now remember, in the country though, there hasn't been an announcement just yet by the RBI, but the US Federal Reserve Chairman has hiked interest rates by 25 basis points after a pause on rate hikes in June. Jerome Powell has cited soaring inflation as a reason for this hike.
Key interest rates in the US are the highest in 22 years. In the 7th rate hike in 11 months, Jerome Powell hiked interest rate by 25 basis points at 5.5%.
Since early last year, the FOMC has significantly tightened the stance of monetary policy. Today, we took another step by raising our policy interest rate a quarter percentage point, and we are continuing to reduce our securities holdings at a brisk pace. We've covered a lot of ground, and the full effects of our tightening have yet to be felt. Looking ahead, we will continue to take a data-dependent approach in determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate.
While Powell cited soaring inflation for hike in interest rates, the Federal Reserve Chairman said that he does not foresee recession in the US in coming times. Jerome Powell said even though growth is expected to slow down this year, US economy will not plunge into recession.
So the staff now has a noticeable slowdown in growth starting later this year in the forecast, but given the resilience of the economy recently, they are no longer forecasting a recession. I just want to note that that our staff produces its own forecast, which is independent of the forecast that we, as FOMC participants, produce. Having an independent staff forecast, as well as the individual participant forecast, is really a strength of our process.
Among the key challenges that lie ahead for the US economy include bringing down inflation to 2% target range and generating more jobs to control further slowdown expected in US economy by year end. The US banking crisis, including the Silicon Valley Bank, has not just spooked the financial markets but seems to have had a significant impact on growth forecast in the long term. While the rate hike is on expected lines, remains to be seen whether the Federal Reserve's monetary policy this time around would spook the US financial markets. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met the Russian defense minister earlier to discuss military issues and the regional security environment as the country celebrated the 70th anniversary of an armistice that halted fighting in the 50 to 53 Korean War. The United Nations Secretary General has urged Russia to resume the internationally brokered deal so grain can be shipped from Ukraine's Black Sea ports, saying otherwise the world's most vulnerable will suffer the worst consequences. The Russian president met the African leaders earlier today, speaking at a trilateral meeting with the chairperson of the African Union. He said the trade turnover between Russia and the African countries has increased by about 35% in the first half of 2023. The Ukrainian president presented awards to two military commanders at a military meeting earlier. The US Secretary of Defense met the Papua New Guinea Prime Minister to strengthen military, diplomatic and defense ties in the South Pacific region. He's also said that the Indo-Pacific is our priority theater and partnership like these are critical to keeping this vital region free and open. The Indonesian president left for China and planned to meet with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. He was due to attend the opening of the FISU World University Games in Chengdu in southwestern China. A contentious government plan to overhaul the country's judiciary cleaved deep rifts within Israeli society. These rifts have infiltrated the military, where thousands of military reservists declared their refusal to serve under a government they see as setting the country on a path to dictatorship. In Taiwan, the military conducted a defense exercise at a beach near the capital. Dozens of mock intruders in red helmets were seen disembarking amphibious vehicles. An Indian crew member was killed, 20 others injured when a major fire broke out on board a cargo vessel carrying about 3,000 cars off the Netherlands coast, with Dutch Coast Guards warning that the blaze could last for several days. Typhoon Doksuri lashed the Philippines with ferocious wind and rain, leaving at least 6 people dead and also displacing thousands. The wind blew roofs of houses and heavy rain flooded the low-lying villages and triggered dozens of landslides. We head into a break right now. On the other side, we get you the very latest that's coming in from Manipur that still continues to remain tense. Also, the government gives it back as the deadlock continues in the parliament. And the government says just wearing black coats will not hide black deeds.
The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The chief minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation where you don't let a debate happen and block parliament to not have a debate. But when the pro-Khalistani elements tried to bring down the tricolour in the Red Fort, when the consequences became too dangerous to own up for, that is when they do not want to speak a word. If you do not understand the complexities of the Northeast, then enter into a debate on it. Let there be a demand for a proper debate, not just on Manipur, but the entire Northeastern Parliament, and let that be a debate that continues till we find some kind of an intellectual resolution. But do not play with the sentiments of the people of the Northeast. Do not play with the national security. These are complex issues. They require deep and immediate solutions. The issue in Manipur is very complex. The horror of the video in which the women are paraded naked and the gang rape on these women has shaken the entire nation. I call for unity in our... The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The chief minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation where you don't let a debate happen and block parliament to not have a debate. But when the pro-Khalistani elements tried to bring down the tricolour in the Red Fort, when the consequences became too dangerous to own up for, that is when they do not want to speak a word. If you do not understand the complexities of the Northeast, then enter into a debate on it. Let there be a demand for a proper debate, not just on Manipur, but the entire Northeastern Parliament, and let that be a debate that continues till we find some kind of an intellectual resolution. But do not play with the sentiments of the people of the Northeast. Do not play with the national security. These are complex issues. They require deep and immediate solutions.
Welcome, you're watching your favorite show. This is Exclusive. Tonight we go back to a story that we have been focusing for a very long time, but it's a story which involves a lot of complexities, viewers. While there would be politics over this entire issue, but what many of us have forgotten is that lives are at stake. We're talking about the state of Manipur, which has become the fulcrum of this political discussion in the national capital. But tonight, what we are going to do is unpack the complexities of the state of Manipur and what exactly is this conflict all about. Is there a way ahead? And can we go beyond the politics of the day? That's going to be our focus on This Is Exclusive. Not just that, tonight we are also going to be joined by victims of the violence, narrating to us what exactly have they been going through for the last 80 days. Why exactly have political parties woken up now? In fact, Republic Media Network has been reporting right from day one. Back in February, when the first wave of violence actually took place, we were present. Today, we'll also take you through the ground reports of both sides, what's really happening in the hill area and what is happening in the valley. We'll take you through all the latest details, but up first, these are the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Fresh firing and arson reported. Situation continues to remain tense in parts of Manipur. Court extends stay on ASI survey at Gyanvapi complex. Verdict to come out on 3rd of August.
अपनी भारत भक्ति दिखाने के लिए नहीं, बल्कि भारत को लूटने के इरादे से लगाया गया था। INDIA के नाम के लेबल से ये अपने पुराने कारनामों को छुपाना चाहते हैं।
Prime Minister's fiercest ever attack on INDIA bloc, says renaming won't do any good.
बन गया PFI, नाम नया, नाम में फिर इंडिया, लेकिन काम वही पुराना।
In Sikar, Prime Minister hits out at the opposition, says even East India Company and Popular Front of India had India in it. Ruckus, sloganeering, walkout and now protest in the parliament. No end to the opposition showdown. DK Shivakumar stokes controversy, says not enough funds for development in state this year. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 85 days and there is no end to the unabated violence in Manipur. What started as ethnic clashes at Churachandpur has now spread to several other districts. Fresh firing was reported in Bishnupur this morning as a gunfight broke out between two communities in the area. Several homes were allegedly set on fire during the violence. Many villagers living near the spot where the gun battle broke out had to take shelter elsewhere. In fact, Republic has been on ground zero since day one and we're getting you all the details and updates from the violence hit areas. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, what's very important before we play out this report by my colleague Anirudh, who's sent this report from Bishnupur, let me just take you through some of the key facts that a lot of us may not be well aware of. The deep complexities involved with a state which has partly been home to one of the oldest insurgencies in South Asia. We're also talking about deep fault lines that exist, which many seem to have ignored while taking into account the violence that we are witnessing right now. Is this something that has happened overnight? Remember, this fault line did actually exist. The divide as far as the valley versus the hills, and the very fact, was it actually an attempt to provoke one particular community? Have their wishes been brushed under the carpet? Why exactly have both the communities been at loggerheads? Why is it that the Meithis cannot really go to the hill areas? And why exactly is the tribals cannot go to the valley? Why exactly does that divide really remain? And what can be done in order to bring both the communities together for bringing back that peace, that relative peace that the state of Manipur had witnessed over the last several years. What really has changed right now? An attempt to try and decode that. Take a look at this report to understand what's the ground reality like, and then we go across to those who have suffered because of the violence that broke out in the state of Manipur, and it still continues.
From Kwakta area of Manipur right now, and as you can see, firing is on in this area. Heavy firing is on in this area. Regular firing can be clearly heard in hardly 300 meters away from this spot where we are sitting. We can hear firing sounds. Mortars are also being fired. As you can just hear, a mortar has been fired. We are taking cover in this bulletproof vehicle of the police, and firing has been on here for last more than 2 hours. Reportedly, Kuki militants from the Sioux groups taking shelter in the foothill areas are firing on the police commandos of Manipur. Here you can see the presence of commandos, and regular firing has been taking place continuously for the last more than 2 hours from the nearby foothills. Reporting for Republic TV from Kwakta, I am Aniruddha Bhakat with video journalist Ashok.
Well, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, before we play out more reports filed by my colleague Anirudh to get you a better understanding of what's really happening in the state of Manipur, we'll also go across to someone who has witnessed the violence up front. There are several people who have lost their loved ones. And what has essentially happened is that people had to leave their own hometown and seek refuge in other states. In fact, several of them have actually come to the national capital. Some have gone to other neighboring states in Northeast. But at the same time, the question here is that how exactly will normalcy essentially return? And will that actually happen anytime soon? We're talking about over 80 days and unabated violence continues. Joining us on this broadcast is one such victim who's lost her own brother. House was completely charred and now continues to look at this situation, hoping that things would actually change. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद रिपब्लिक टीवी से बात करने के लिए। सबसे पहले आपसे ये सवाल करना चाहूँगा कि मणिपुर में जो हालत इस वक्त है, कई दिनों से ये हालत है। रिपब्लिक टीवी ने कई दिनों से हर इलाके से एक कहीं ना कहीं से हम लोग ने रिपोर्ट फाइल की। मैं पहले आपसे जानना चाहूँगा कि आपके ऊपर, आपके साथ क्या क्या हुआ, और उस वक्त जब ये वायलेंस हो रहा था, सरकार उस समय क्या कर रही थी?
सरकार उस समय कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे सर।
आपके साथ क्या हुआ? क्या हमारे दर्शकों को आप बता सकते हैं कि जब ये वायलेंस आपके इलाके में हुआ, क्या कितने लोग थे और उनके ऊपर क्या क्या गुजरा?
8 मई को हमारा इलाका में 3 मई शाम के 6:30-7 बजे उस टाइम पे हमारा इलाका में पूरा घर को जला दिया था, और मेरे घर में भी कुकी मिलिटेंट लोगों ने आके फायर भी किया और पेट्रोल बम भी हमारे घर के ऊपर डाला था। तो उस टाइम में हम लोग घर में ही थे, हम लोग छुपा के रहे थे। तो बहुत मुश्किल से हम लोग नॉन स्टॉप उन लोगों ने घर के अंदर भी फायर किया था और फिर पेट्रोल बम भी लगा दिया। तो हम लोग घर के पीछे एक लाला करके एक ड्रेन में हम लोग चुपके से उधर रहते थे। शाम से तक फिर सुबह तक हम लोग वहां पे बहुत गंदा था उस ड्रेन में, लेकिन हम लोग सिर्फ अपना जान को बचाने के लिए उधर उस ड्रेन में ही चुपके से रख रहे थे। तो हम लोगों ने उस टाइम पे डीसी में भी कॉल किया था और कोई जवाब नहीं दिया। हम लोगों ने बहुत रोया उस टाइम में। हम लोग ने पुलिस को भी फोन किया, किसी ने भी एक्शन नहीं लिया। बहुत मुश्किल से हम लोग उस रात को उधर ड्रेन लला के अंदर घुस के हम लोग उधर चुपके से वहां रह रहे थे पूरा रात को। उस थाट में पूरा रात में पूरा घर जलाया था, हमारा इलाके सबका घर एक भी नहीं छोड़ा। तो हम लोग अपने जान को बचाने के लिए लला में चुपके से रह गया। तो टिल सुबह 4 बजे तक नॉन स्टॉप फायरिंग किया था। तो उस टाइम में हम लोग देख के 5:30 बजे में हम लोग उस घर से निकाल के आर्मी के में हम लोग अपने जान के लिए चला गया था उस टाइम पे। तो हम लोग आर्मी के में
मैं आपसे और एक सवाल करना चाहूंगा।
हाँ,
मैं एक और आपसे सवाल करना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि जिस वक्त की आप बात कर रहे हैं उस वक्त ये कहा जा रहा था कि कई सारे स्टेट के कमांडोज को डिप्लॉय किया गया था। क्या आप हमें बता सकते हैं कि कोई भी सिक्योरिटी आपको दिया गया था कि उस इलाके में जहां पे आप रह रहे थे उस वक्त क्या कुछ सिक्योरिटी था या आपके ऊपर छोड़ दिया गया था?
कोई भी सिक्योरिटी नहीं दिया था हम लोग के ऊपर। उस टाइम में भी हम लोग किसी ने देखा है कि पुलिस भी वहां थे, लेकिन वो चुपचाप ऐसे देख रहे थे, कोई मदद नहीं कर रहे थे। वो लोग किसी का घर जलाने के टाइम में भी पुलिस लोग भी थे, वो लोग सिर्फ देख रहे थे, कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे थे।
मैं चाहूंगा कि आप हमारे साथ थोड़े समय के लिए जुड़े रहें और भी कुछ सवाल करना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि इस वक्त कई सारे लोग यही देख रहे हैं कि आखिरकार वहां पे हो क्या रहा है और इसके पीछे कारण क्या है। विल गेट इनटू द डिटेल्स ऑफ इट इन अ शॉर्ट व्हाइल फ्रॉम नाउ। विल गो बैक टू victim who's joined us, but let's also take a look at some of the reports that have been filed by my colleague. In fact, we showed you a report that came in from Bishnupur. Now let's take a look at what's really happening in West Imphal, where gunshots were heard. Large number of security forces were deployed. It is said that there were unidentified militants who were firing upon the Manipur police commandos. There's been heavy shelling of mortars that were basically heard. Now, according to the police officials, at least 30 mortars and bombs were hurled towards the villages. As of now, there is no official word with regards to whether at all there have been any casualties or not. So we are refraining from putting out any numbers. But take a look at this ground report filed by my colleague Anirudh, which gives you a sense that areas which were untouched in the past, there too reports are now coming in of violence that has taken place.
Now we are in Fogaksao area of Manipur, and as you can see there a few meters away from us, commandos of Manipur police have taken position. There is heavy firing right now happening from the foothill areas, and it is being said that suspected militants from the Kuki underground militant organizations are firing upon at the security forces and the Manipur police commandos deployed here. As we report, you can hear the sounds of the bullets coming clearly. Even 51 mm mortar shells are also being fired upon. Since morning, more than 20 mortars have been fired upon, and just now another mortar has been fired upon the Manipur police commandos here. You can also see deployment of heavy security forces around in the area, but it's the Manipur police commandos who are as of now responding to the heavy selling of ammunitions by the militants who are in the foothill areas. And here also you can see villagers who have abandoned their houses. They have come here, they are taking shelter in the bus shed, and in the nearby areas as of now. With video journalist Ashok, I am Aniruddha Vakat and this is Republic Media Network.
Well, in fact, where violence has marred several districts, there are some areas in Manipur which are limping back to normalcy. In fact, there are places which have reported no untoward incidents since a month. One such area where there was large-scale violence that had taken place on 4th of May has seen some sort of a relative calm, I would say. Villagers claim that the situation is certainly improving, and those who had fled fearing life are now wanting to come back to their homes. In fact, while we just prepare to put that report out in a short while from now, we'll just try and see if that report is ready. So it does appear, let me try and explain this to you while we're putting that report together, that essentially what has happened is that there has been a clear divide. And the divide that we're essentially talking about is between the tribal areas and the valley areas. And that divide still continues, and one of the reasons why we have seen that additional deployment has been done by the police. You've had a unified command that was put into place after the visit of Union Home Minister Amit Shah. And what is important to point out here is that security forces have been carrying out regular reconnaissance to ensure that the situation is now under control. So let's take a look at this report that has now been filed by my colleague Anirudh. This is from an area where we can say that there is relative peace that can be witnessed.
यहाँ पर हम अभी यहाँ का माहौल अभी चेंज हुआ है, थोड़ा थोड़ा पीस में आ गया है, नॉर्मलिटी में। पूरा तो नहीं है, और सिक्योरिटी आने के बाद ये माहौल हो गया है। अभी क्या बोलना है कि सिक्योरिटी जाएगा तो हमारा माहौल पहले जैसा हो जाएगा, इसलिए सिक्योरिटी रखना ज़रूरी है।
यहाँ पर कई सारे लोग जो है ये गांव छोड़ करके चले गए थे, कई लोग दूसरे रिलीफ कैंप्स में भी चले गए थे अपने जान बचाने के लिए। तो उन लोगों को वापस लाने की या फिर जो घर जला दिए गए थे उनको फिर से बनाने की कोई कोशिश की जा रही है यहाँ पर?
उन लोगों का टेम्पररी हाउस बनाने के लिए हमने सरकार में एप्लीकेशन दिया है, अभी तक तो नहीं बनाया है। और एक तो खबर मिला है जल्द से जल्द वो टेम्पररी हाउस बनाएगा, ऐसा बोला है।
तो जो लोग यहाँ से गए हैं वो लोग वापस फिर से आने की राह देख रहे हैं।
हाँ, उन लोग इस गांव में जल्द से जल्द वो आना चाहता है। हम भी कोशिश करता है कि वो उन लोग का वो रहने का वो घर बनाने की कोशिश में है अभी।
पहले जब हम आए थे यहाँ पर लगभग 70 दिन पहले, यहाँ पर जब हम लोग आए थे 70 डेज पहले, तब यहाँ पर गोलियों की आवाज़ सुनाई दे रहा था, लगातार फायरिंग हो रहे थे। हर 1-2-3 घंटे में 1-2 बार फायरिंग इस तरफ से भी उस तरफ से भी हो रहे थे। अभी ऐसा माहौल नहीं है यहाँ पर।
हाँ, बिल्कुल नहीं है, अभी पूरा चेंज हो गया। अभी हमारा गांव का माहौल नॉर्मलसी में आ गया है।
आप लोगों के बंकर्स यहाँ पर जो बनाए हुए थे, हमने पहले बार जब आया था यहाँ पर देखे थे बंकर्स आप लोगों के बनाए हुए थे, अभी बंकर्स यहाँ पर नहीं देख रहे हैं क्या? उस साइड पर भी बंकर्स तोड़े गए हैं उनके भी, पहाड़ में जो बंकर्स थे?
ओ, हमारा गांव का तो बंकर नहीं था, सिर्फ वो गांव में वो डिफेंस करने के लिए रहते थे। अब उन लोग का तो अभी वो पहाड़ में है, इधर से देखने में थोड़ा मुश्किल है। बाइनोकुलर वगैरह यूज़ करके देखने तो देख पाएगा।
उनका बंकर्स अभी भी है?
अभी भी है,
इसीलिए आप लोग चाहते हैं कि सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस यहाँ पर रहे।
हाँ हाँ, इसलिए हम सिक्योरिटी फोर्स रखना चाहिए।
Well, in fact, the opposition parties here in the national capital have trained their guns at this centre, saying that the centre has completely failed to resolve the situation in the state of Manipur. In fact, in the coming few days, it's expected that some of the opposition parties would be going to Manipur to assess the situation. In fact, N. Biren Singh, the Chief Minister of Manipur, has also been saying that the situation has been brought under control. My colleague Anirudh spoke to one of the state minister, Dr. Sapam, who happens to be the health minister. He essentially says that a lot of fake news is now doing the rounds. Having said that, questions are still being raised that if everything is under control, how exactly are reports of violence still coming in? Listen in to what the state minister had to tell my colleague Anirudh.
IPO Minister Dr. Sapam Ranjan. There is a major task that the Manipur government is actually undertaking now, apart from bringing the law and order situation under control. It's the fake news narrative which is taking toll of the public mindset. How would you like to react on that?
You see, one of the most important thing is the fake news. I think that's what I have said from everyone, from the public, the media channels. I think whatever has been narrated, I think this should be definitely verified, and only the fact should be reported. Because I think we know many of the incidents, the unruly incidents has taken place because of fake news. And today I have called a press briefing. It's regarding through some of the channels which was reported by of our honorable MLA Sri Bhojagin Valte about what had happened to him, and that the government is not just concerned about him, and that he's been a forgotten MLA, and that no one had the courtesy to call. I don't think I would really not agree to that is being said, because since from that day what had happened was the government headed by the Honorable Chief Minister has been constantly looking after him, looking after his care, what's the status of his, how he is recuperating, how his recovery is, and when he's been discharged. And even on that fateful, I would say that happened in the afternoon. So by midnight he was airlifted. Our honorable ministers had gone to drop him to the airport, and at Delhi airport he was received by our Manipur government officials and also with the OSD. We were in touch with the officials at the who were there at the hospital to make sure that all is fine, and the honorable Chief Minister did have a word with his wife, and on a regular basis. Even I, for myself,
now that he has been discharged, any word have
Well, in fact, let me just quickly go back to our victim, our guest who's joined us on this broadcast. पहले तो मैं बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा आपसे कि इस वक्त आप आके हमारे दर्शकों से आप बात कर रही हैं। एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे करना चाहूँगा कि आखिरकार आप सरकार से क्या अपेक्षा करती हैं कि जिस तरह से इसको लेकर पॉलिटिक्स हो रही है, आपने देखा होगा कि किस तरह से पार्लियामेंट में भी इसको लेकर काफ़ी लड़ाई चल रही है। इस वक्त आप क्या मांग करना चाहेंगी?
हम लोग अभी कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए, हम लोग का फ्यूचर भी कुछ भी नहीं देख रहे हैं, तो हम लोग सिर्फ पीस चाहिए।
पर आप अगर कुछ कहना चाहेंगे कि जिस हालत में ना ही सिर्फ आप, आपके कई परिवार वाले जो इस वक्त आप घर वापस नहीं जा पा रहे, क्या आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे सरकार को कि आखिरकार जिस हालत में आप लोग को रहना पड़ रहा है इस वक्त, कई लोग ऐसे हैं जिनके पास कोई सुविधा नहीं है यहाँ दिल्ली में कहीं और रहने के लिए, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे उसके बारे में?
हमें ये तो पता नहीं मैं क्या बोलूं। हम लोग अभी घर में उधर रिलीफ कैंप में रहते थे, तो रिलीफ कैंप में ऐसे ही फ्री में खाना सिर्फ खाना ही नहीं चलाता है, हम लोग को कुछ पैसे भी चाहिए, तो हम लोग कुछ काम करने के लिए बाहर जाना पड़ता है। ऐसे ही चुपके रिलीफ कैंप में रह के हम लोग कुछ भी होने ही होने वाला है। तो सरकार को मैं क्या जल्दी से जल्दी ये सब खत्म कर दीजिए और हम लोग अपने घर वापस जाना चाहता है और हम लोग पीस चाहिए, वही सिर्फ कहना है और कुछ।
Well, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. The endeavor that we are making here at Republic Media Network is to put out the voices, hoping that the government is going to take cognizance of the situation on the ground. And as she was pointing out, the question is not about just bringing in relief right now for those who've moved out of the state of Manipur. There is a long-term solution that is required. And remember, these are deep, complex issues which requires a sincere effort, keeping in mind that we are dealing with one of the oldest insurgencies in the state of Manipur. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. News and updates continue on the other side.
The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The Chief Minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation where you don't let a debate happen and block Parliament to not have a debate. But when the pro-Khalistani elements tried to bring down the tricolour in the Red Fort, when the consequences became too dangerous to own up for, that is when they do not want to speak a word. If you do not understand the complexities of the Northeast, then enter into a debate on it. Let there be a demand for a proper debate, not just on Manipur, but the entire Northeastern Parliament, and let that be a debate that continues till we find some kind of an intellectual resolution. But do not play with the sentiments of the people of the Northeast. Do not play with the national security. These are complex issues. They require deep and immediate solutions. The issue in Manipur is very complex. The horror of the video in which the women are paraded naked and the gang rape on these women has shaken the entire nation. I call for unity in our national response. There are 36 terrorist groups in Manipur, all of them fully armed. The same people who are calling for greater army presence and central intervention now are the same people who want the powers of the army always curtailed. And now they say, send in the army. There is a Chinese angle. Hundreds, thousands of Chinese arms are entering Manipur. The Congress, which ensured decades of endless bloodshed in the Northeast, has no right to lecture us today. If the opposition had been in power in Manipur, if Manipur would have been an opposition ruled state, the centre would have probably thought of imposing 365 by now. The centre and the state government have made a series of mistakes. They need to stop now. The situation in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The Chief Minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation where you don't let a debate happen and block Parliament to not have a debate. But when the pro-Khalistani elements tried to bring down in Manipur is complex. It is far from normal. There is a parallel insurgency problem. New videos appear daily that display the barbarity that is underway. The Chief Minister has failed. And I also said the only thing that can solve the present situation is an expression of unity externally and internally. The government of India is ready for a discussion on what appears to be a great pressing matter of national security. Let a debate happen. But I have never heard of a situation where you don't let a debate happen and block Parliament to not have a debate. But when the pro-Khalistani elements tried to bring down the tricolor in the Red Fort, when the consequences became too dangerous to own up for, that is when they do not want to speak a word. If you do not understand the complexities of the Northeast, then enter into a debate on it. Let there be a demand for a proper debate, not just on Manipur, but the entire Northeastern Parliament, and let that be a debate that continues till we find some kind of an intellectual resolution. But do not play with the sentiments of the people of the Northeast. Do not play with the national security. These are complex issues. They require deep and immediate solutions.
इंडिया नाम अपनी भारत भक्ति दिखाने के लिए नहीं, बल्कि भारत को लूटने के इरादे से लगाया गया था। INDIA के नाम के लेबल से ये अपने पुराने कारनामों को छुपाना चाहते हैं।
This is the Prime Minister's fiercest ever attack on the India bloc. He says renaming will not do any good. After ruckus, sloganeering and walkout, the opposition resorting to a black clothes protest.
मैं समझता हूँ ये काले कपड़े पहनने वाले लोग समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं कि देश की बढ़ती हुई ताकत आज क्या है।
The government gives it back as the deadlock continues. They say wearing black clothes will not hide your black deeds. Allahabad High Court reserves the order on Gyanvapi, the order on the SI survey now on August the 3rd. Till then, status quo continues. DK Shivkumar stoking a controversy. He says not enough funds for development in the state this year. Fresh firing and arson is reported. The situation continues to remain tense in parts of Manipur. A very good evening. You're watching Republic. Let's get kick-started this edition of the news with this quick update that's coming here about the OTT content. Remember, there has been a lot of conversation whether that content needs to be regulated, there should be riders. And on the same issue, the Union Minister for Information Broadcasting, Anurag Thakur, has spoken earlier exactly on the OTT platforms in the Rajya Sabha earlier. He's in fact informed the House that he has held a meeting in this regard.
Rules for the OTT platform is little different than this. That comes under the Code of Ethics under the IT Act. That gives them the self-regulatory powers. I have noted the complaints received by the honorable members about the language, vulgarity or nudity, these kind of things which are of concern for any Indian family. I would like to tell the House about 7 days back, I have called a meeting with all the big and the other OTT players in Delhi. और 7 दिन पहले मैं चेयर के सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 7 दिन पहले जब मैंने मीटिंग बुलाई थी तो इन सारे OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स वालों को मैंने कहा कि सेल्फ रेगुलेशन का मतलब ये है कि जिम्मेदारी आपके कंधों पर है। अगर आप अपनी जिम्मेदारी ढंग से नहीं निभाओगे तो आप मजबूर करोगे कोई ना कोई और कदम उठाने के लिए। हम नहीं चाहते कि हम किसी, देखिए आपको क्रिएटिविटी के लिए थोड़ा स्पेस तो उनको देना ही पड़ेगा और ये नया प्लेटफॉर्म है, थोड़ा समय भी हो सकता है इसमें लगे, लेकिन आप लोगों ने बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय उठाए। एक बार फिर जब वो अपने रिपोर्ट देंगे क्या क्या कदम वो उठाने वाले हैं, हम उनके सामने इस हाउस में जो बातें हैं उसको अवश्य उनके सामने रखेंगे।
And now let's also get you more details on what we have seen in the parliament. We have again seen ruckus, we've seen sloganeering and other chaos. The showdown over the parliament has continued, and today is day 6 of the monsoon session. The opposition is split over the no confidence motion. Now, in a latest breakthrough, the YSRCP is likely to oppose the India alliance. In fact, they say they will be supporting the Delhi ordinance. Also, as you can see on the right of your screens, most of the opposition with the India alliance was seen wearing black clothes earlier today. Let's quickly make way to listen into reactions. The government has hit back at the opposition, and the opposition says this is a government running scared on a discussion on Manipur.
बहुत दुर्भाग्य की बात है कि इतने गंभीर विषय के ऊपर भी आज राजनीतिकरण की जा रही है। ये भारत की अस्मिता का सवाल है। ये भारत का जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय पटल पर बढ़ती हुई आज भारत की छवि है, इसके बारे में आज हमारे माननीय विदेश मंत्री ने जो स्पष्टीकरण किया, जो पूरे देश को अवगत कराया, मैं समझता हूँ ये काले कपड़े पहनने वाले लोग समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं कि देश की बढ़ती हुई ताकत आज क्या है। जिनके मन में काला है, जिनके तन में भी आज काला है, क्या छुपा है इनके दिल में? क्या दिल में काला है? क्या शब्दों के बोल में काला है? क्या काला धन छुपा रहे हैं ये अपने इन कपड़ों में? क्या कारनामे हैं इनके जो दिखाने